All right, it is 7 o'clock. I would like to call to order the CCSD59 Board of Education meeting. It is Tuesday, September 20th?
30th.
30th? Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That's
Did
right.
you say 20th?
That's right. I was just getting all right. If I could have
10 days.
Secretary Eddie call the roll, please.
Bookler,
Here.
Zach, present. Eddie, present. Johnson,
Here.
Kitzinger, here. Notini, here. And Chesney is here. He's here.
All right.
Okay.
First item, pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is comments and suggestions from the public. First, we have Deb Benke.
Hello, Deb Benke, Ridge Grove parent. I noticed that on the agenda tonight is the calendars for next year. And I see that the first day of school, again, is on a Thursday. I would like to recommend it starting on a Wednesday to be into consideration to start on a Wednesday. So our last day of school is on a Friday and not a Monday. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the board tonight? Okay, if not, we can move into our board recognitions and presentations. The only item is the strategic plan.
All right. So as our team gets prepared, Perry, if you want to join up front, I'll kind of kick it off and then I'll turn it over to you. All right. So as the board is aware, we are in year 5 of our current strategic plan. So this is the time when we're really able to present out all of the information and successes that we've had, what our kind of current future holds for us, and time to start thinking about what the direction the board wants to take for future planning for strategic initiatives. So we began this planning with Perry himself in this community back in 2019, I believe. Is that correct? And did some amazing work, laid out 4 strategic goals, and then unfortunately COVID hit. And so things were put somewhat on hold for a little bit. And then when I joined the district, I had the opportunity to kick off year 1. So the 4 years prior to this year have really been guided by the work of our strategic plan and those 4 goal areas. So with us tonight is Perry, our consultant for the board, who will be looking at kind of where we are and talking about next steps. And then we'll have an opportunity for our team to really showcase and highlight some of the successes and accomplishments of the plan. So with that, I will turn it over to you.
Great.
And Perry, will you say your last name for me, please?
Sure. Sadweddle.
Sadweddle. There we go.
I've learned over time. I just kind of respond to most anything. But thank you. I've had the opportunity to meet with the board before, and am very happy to be here this evening. As Terry stated, I had the privilege of, in this very room, facilitating the current strategic plan. There were 90 plus members on that team, and you hold the distinct honor of having the most number of people on a strategic plan team that I've ever facilitated. But it really was a very engaging process. All of the feedback and the reviews from both people on the team and from stakeholders who provided feedback to the team felt that voices were heard, and we made great headway in putting that plan together. I had then earlier in this school year was contacted as a possibility of considering in the future talking to the board about what to do with the current plan, a new plan a refreshed plan, whatever. And in May, we agreed that there would be two things that I would work with the board and the district leadership team with. And the first one was to give a status report, an opportunity for us to reflect, look back on where we've been with this plan. We're in what could possibly be the last year of the plan. And so the question was, where are we with the plan? And it asked a series of questions. The second part of that was, what about a new plan? The timing of the new plan. There are two ways, probably more than two ways, but two ways that I'm familiar with of dealing with a new plan. And one is to start all over. I call it a deep dive. It is what we did in 2019. The other is what we call a refresh of the plan. And the refresh of the plan usually happens when the board is pretty happy with the long-range goals, but there's still work to be done on the plan, and there's been other things that have happened that hadn't happened when we originated the plan, and it was just a case of extending the plan out further, but doing it with looking at data and looking at where we had been. And so therefore the status part of this was the first piece, with the second piece being a new plan at some point. So with those two things in mind, we really began to do that. And I'm really happy this evening to say we've got that status report ready for you. You've seen some information because some of it's on the website, some of it has been distributed in newsletters, but the team is here to give you the full-blown update. And so we'll get to that in just a moment. And that's really the major part of this evening. I need to say before we get into that, that when I first met with the team, I knew that my job was going to be really easy, because it was a great meeting in which we all reflected on what had happened of COVID on. And I was pretty assured that most things were here. If I had to use a word that might describe, in my opinion, it would be transparency. Not as transparent as I think the board would have liked it to be. And so the transparency is kind of evident in what we're going to talk about tonight. But there was no question that the work had been done and that the work was aligned to the 4 goals. This happens in many districts. And what happens is that we go about doing our business, and there's so much work that we do that we don't take time out, that when we're actually doing something, that we remind people it's tied to this goal, or it's tied to this vision, or it's tied to this metric, which is part of the metric that is tied to one of the goals. So it was a case really of the team saying and showing me lots of different things that they've been doing over the course of time. And so I offered to be a part of helping them along the way. And to be quite honest with you, they didn't need my help. In fact, everything they sent me was just exactly what, if I could have imagined high quality, it was there. So I'm very pleased to be part of this, but I want you to know that the real work had already been done. The real work was there. It's just that tonight it's very transparent. it's going to be a good product for everybody, not just the board, but staff, others, to really see the tie and to see how it does connect back to the plan. It's also going to be a great piece for you as a board when you make a decision about moving forward toward a new plan, because one of the first things that any good team would do would be to start out with, where are we now? And to have this status report, the metrics all up to date, even they went beyond my expectations. They did a lot of tweaking of the website. They did a lot of just refreshing for the start of the year and kicking the year off with things to really address that transparency. So it was a privilege and a joy to work with your leadership team to produce this. So in going back, I just kind of reviewed some of our conversations, some of our communications, and really your questions were kind of to really get at where were we with this plan? Was the plan still living? Was the plan tied to what the annual actions and priorities have been in the last few years? What happened after COVID? Everybody recognized that COVID was something that in all of my years in education, it probably was the one thing that really interfered with the way we did business everywhere. And you wanted to know the metrics. You had metrics posted on your website, but were these being used? Did we have progress monitoring that was going on? Was the reporting being done? And so those were the things that I took with me. It's what I did when I met with the leadership team so that we could kind of get into that. I've shared with the board before about an annual report. The process that was used back in 2019 is a process that is a part of the Strategic Management Group Scorecard Institute's widely disseminated strategic planning process. That group is the largest group that certifies and trains facilitators of strategic planning in healthcare, business, government, and education. They're international. They're the group that has certified my work. I continue to go through training with them on a yearly basis in order to maintain that certification. And as we do that work, one of the things that was so evident to me about their process was that it's great to get a strategic plan, but the most important part of having a strategic plan is to make sure there's a return on its investment by living the plan. And there are many school districts that go through this process, get a plan, and don't fully live it. But that's not the case here. There's no question that your plan is still living. It's been lived since its inception. So I did go through, talked about the importance of an annual plan, about an annual report. There were periodic reports that were given related to projects, not necessarily a strategic plan annual report. And so, again, it gets us back to the fact that if we really want to get to the bottom of, is our plan alive? Very definitely it is. There are some things that I think can be done in order to, as we move forward and look toward a new plan. There continues to be some great guidelines for progress monitoring, setting targets, using scorecards that help us ensure that the plan is more transparent in terms of its communication. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to the leadership team. They're going to go through with you. The part that they're not going to address is mission, and vision and core values. Those are all very solidly in place. They are currently same wording, same dimensions that were part of the original plan. But our work tonight, our report tonight is going to be related to the goals. So I'll turn it over to the team.
So I think we can flip through a few of the slides because it'll cover our mission vision. So we can go ahead and there's our mission, there's our vision. All of those have remained the same from the original plan. Those are all just screenshots from our actual website. Our core values, and then those are really our 4 long-range goals. So we focused on student growth and achievement, creating an inclusive learning environment, developing our family and community partnerships, as well as being good stewards of our resources from a financial aspect, from our facilities aspect, as well as technology. So this is really our progress report. And so we'll go, I think it'll be better if the board has questions. We've really done, I think, a great job in the last few months of getting this information out to the community. So I want to thank Rachel Jobski and her team for the work that they did really putting this together and working really with Perry as well through this planning process, because I think communication is one of our goal areas and is something that we've really put a lot of focus in on this year. And she'll talk to her goal area a little bit later in the presentation. So we're gonna just flip through this one because we don't need to hold my picture up there too long. This just really goes through the timeline as I referenced earlier. So it started back in that 2019 when, as Perry already referenced, a large group of community stakeholders came together in this very room to really draft what all of the vision of District 59 would be. When I had the opportunity to join, that was year 1, and we did have a strategic plan committee from the board. And we actually did in our first 2 years report out annually, actually biannually, we reported out with comprehensive presentations and reports on the strategic plan. But we have really been focused and aligned across these 4 goal areas. And so even actually, if you look to our administrative leadership team agendas, our agendas were all laid out by goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, goal 4. So we knew our work and how it was aligned throughout our time here. So in 22-23, that's when we were actually technically in year 2. So year 1 was really assessing the district, what was kind of the current state post-COVID. How do we make that transition? And in year 2, we hit the ground running as we implemented. We were actually in year 2 of our math implementation. And then in 23-24, math hit year 3. So we were almost fully implemented with our new math curriculum resource. And then we shifted into our literacy. Last year, we really saw evidence of those growth, academic growth from our students, as well as not just academic in the areas of reading and math, but also across our social, emotional, and our behavioral, which really touches into goal 2 of the plan. And those reports and those presentations that happen 3 times a year from Mr. Ludloff really came as a result of our KPIs that were derived from our strategic plan, those key performance indicators. Remember, we kept talking about 80%, because that was based on if we can meet the needs of 80% of our students in tier 1, we can have a sustainable system to really implement MTSS for goal area number 2 and strengthen our tier 1 core curriculum through our work in goal 1. And the team will talk more individually about those goal areas. So now that lands us in 25-26, which is the final year of the implementation of this plan, where almost all of our goals are really continuing to be active, and a great time for reflection and to see what still needs to be done in these 4 areas. These are not wildly distinct areas that you would not see across most districts in Illinois. But the way we personalize them and made them into our action plans is what's really helped guide our work and deliver the results. And so that's what the team will be sharing and talking about. So I'll kick it over to, I believe, Susan and Tom for goal 1. Kick it off with Tom.
I'm going to kick things off. Goal 1, student achievement. Most of this data, well, all of this data actually reflects what we shared last spring, and that we've been very consistent in sharing our KPI, the 80% goal percentage. We want 80% of our kids, at least 80% of our kids, to be at the 25th percentile or higher. Those first 2 bullet points at the top really highlight the last 4 years, where we've made 8.7 percentage point increase from where we were back in the fall of 2021, and now we're at 72%. Actually, it's 72.5% of our students. And then when you jump down to math, really more than double that, 17.3 and at 77.6%. So the reality, we're on that path to hitting that 80% mark. To preview a little ahead, I looked to our fall benchmark for this year. We actually have 96 categories are over 80% of our reporting. So we've really moved into that area in many areas. When we look at the next piece, when we talk about last spring on our monolingual side, and when we say monolingual in District 59, that means non-English learners or never been an English learner or former ELs. And we're actually at over 88% for both reading and math. So the reality of that piece is we're right on track. We're actually exceeding our goal. And really these next three pieces, when we talk about District 59, we have a goal that all of our categories, every single student group hits that 80%. We know we have a lot of room to grow in some areas, but we are closing those gaps. When we talk about English learners, in reading, we hit 6.9 percentage points, and in math, 4.3. Those both exceeded our overall increases for the year. When we talk about dual language Spanish, then we're really just talking about kindergarten through fifth grade. Both reading and math exceeded 10 percentage point increases. And then when we talk about different grade levels, again, 90, I didn't count up last spring, but I would bet it's a high percentage. But we really saw a couple grade levels, seventh grade, I believe, in reading at 7.6%, and then kindergarten at 7.9 percentage points in math. So we're really seeing that growth. We're outpacing the district in many areas. At the same time, we know that there are other areas we need to target, and we are targeting them. But I really think I want to turn it over to Susan. The important piece, this is easy. This is the accumulation of the data. The work that our staff, our leaders, and our students do, Susan will speak to, and it's really about digging into the learning and the work that goes with it.
All right, so thinking about this goal one, our major success strategy started at the establishment of the strategic plan in 21 in the fall, when we developed the curriculum management plan for the district. We actually had a board presentation about it. I think it was in October actually at that time, where we explained how we would work with staff, how we would engage to ensure that every core area, and in addition, we tackled the specials teams as well and electives, and made sure that every school was involved, every grade level was involved, and we had teacher voice and teacher leadership. That's when we hear the word about we have our councils, and then those councils turn into implementation teams. So that started in 21 at the same time as the first year of the 3-year math implementation plan. So since then, we have revamped all curricular resources, and we have revamped all the scope and sequences for our core and most of our specials as well as English as a second language in our multilingual program has been reviewed, improved upon, and new curricular resources to support those learners, especially our newcomer students. So thinking through next steps, Tom already discussed a little bit about that 80% KPI. What we really want to focus on is proactively meeting those expected equity gaps and continue to address those on an ongoing basis. So where are we anticipating to see those needs not being met? And where are we allocating resources, time, energy, and curriculum to meet those needs?
And that brings us to goal 2, inclusive learning environment. Success in goal 2 is indicated by student needs that fall outside of the universal core curriculum being met within our multi-tiered system of support. And we've made really significant accomplishments in the time of this strategic plan, which are demonstrated by providing intervention to all identified students in the areas of reading, math, and behavior at the provision rate of 92% in reading, 95% in math, and 100% in behavior. In addition to that, our environments have become safer and more inclusive, which is supported by a significant decrease in our out-of-school suspensions for our students from 159 suspensions in 2021 down to 65 suspensions in 2025. In addition to that, we have had consistently high ratings from our students in terms of their sense of belonging in the school environment, and we have significantly increased those sense of belonging ratings among our staff in their work environment. When we look to the strategies that helped us to overcome this need in our multi-tiered system of support, some of the key pieces that we identified and worked through were updating our multi-tiered system of support to better align to the learning needs at each tier for many groups of students and many different student needs. We created structures within the school day to use flexibly at both the elementary and the junior high level, because when we started, we had a very high number of students who needed intervention. So we needed to ensure that our structures matched the identified needs of our student groups and created that time so we could use it flexibly for academic needs or behavioral or social emotional needs. We also, through a review process, implemented a great new social emotional learning curricular resource in kindergarten through 8th grade to improve the quality of our social and emotional instruction. And we strengthened our partnerships with our professional associations, increasing communication about our student needs, our staff needs, and how we could meet them together. In terms of what's coming next, we want to continue using the processes that we have found very successful for Goal 2, which are constantly studying, reviewing, and adjusting the interventions, the supports, and the type of instruction that we provide to students based on the needs that are coming up at the time. So we have many groups and many different ways where we cycle through that review process and are constantly acting upon the data that we find to strengthen our procedures. We want to continue the work that we've started this year in increasing student attendance and making it more consistent every day at 59. And we want to begin to explore options for mental health screeners, which is soon to be a requirement in the state of Illinois for all public schools. So that's what we have coming up to continue our work in inclusive learning environments, which brings us to Goal 3.
Great. So Goal 3 is centered around strengthening family and community relationships. And over the past 4 years, the district has really substantially increased community partnerships and expanded both district and school-led event opportunities to further connect with our families. So the Back to School resource fairs, Family University, the Family Education Series, different connections with local groups such as the Good Neighbors Network, the CARES Closet, etc. So lots of amazing ways that we have further connected with the community and our families. And then in addition, we are actively working on bettering our communication practices that will really be guided by the strategic communications plan. The draft of that plan is in its final stages, so I'm really excited to share that with all of you shortly. But as you probably know, that is really based off of family, staff, and community feedback based on the audit that was conducted in 2024 with NSPRA, which is the National School Public Relations Association. So our success strategies, the Empowerment Fund, our work with the Bilingual Parent Advisory Committee, also known as BPAC, and strong collaboration with other groups like the Ed Foundation and other local organizations within all 4 of our municipalities has really led to the successes of increasing partnerships and relationships with our family and communities. So what's next as we enter this last year? The biggest thing will be implementing the strategic communications plan that I just mentioned. It's been a labor of love, so it's really exciting to get that going. We've already started implementing some things, but there are some bigger things to come. So that will be one of our main focuses, and that will really just emphasize building trust, transparency, and increasing that two-way communication with not only our families, but our staff and community members as well.
Good evening. I'll speak to Goal 4, Stewardship of Resources. As you are aware, there has been a lot of action about learning spaces, whether that is creating additions where needed or making sure we have mobile classrooms rotating through our schools to ensure that all of the students and staff have the learning spaces that they need. We continue our long-standing tradition of earning top financial honors. District 59 is well-resourced, but we are also very engaged and responsible with how those funds are spent on students, staff, and the community. But shifting to the key performance indicator, the The biggest lift, I believe, here in goal 4 has been the equity in our resource planning. As enrollment numbers have gone down in our neighborhood schools, you may recall that we've presented on shifting from every school gets one interventionist principal to every school gets what they need. And that is based on the assessment data that was discussed in goal 1, and making sure that those financial resources can get to goal 2 and 3, so we can get staff in our school district to support our students. And we have done that. We have hired over 90 FTEs, I should say added over 90 FTEs, which is much higher than typical for any school district, especially post-COVID. And if you recall, and I should say board members, we've had a number of board members since the start of this plan. 23-24 school year, we added 36 FTEs. That was interventionists, ESL resource, newcomer, electives, resource assistants. And that has served us very well. The last point at the bottom is our strong partnership with the Cameo group, the ESP group, and the Certified group. The Certified and ESP, that partnership's so strong. There are representatives here at every board meeting. Cheryl is here as an executive board member, ESP rep, and John and Cindy for the Certified. That represents over 900 of our staff members. And we have just finished bargaining agreements that have maintained our tradition of being a destination district. Moving to the success strategies, adding a lot of focus on the new educator network, providing support, ongoing support for that group so we can make sure that people that we're hiring have what they need and that we hire to retire. We also know that we want to maintain that fiscal responsibility. Looking forward in terms of what next, of course, continuing to evaluate our staffing model, making sure that we are planning ahead, as staffing can be the largest fiscal responsibility of any school district. As we have a 3-year benefit, retirement benefit in 2 of our largest contracts, how will we forecast out our needs to make sure that we're handling that responsibly? That's goal 4.
That covers all of our work over the last 4+ years on the strategic plan. No slight lift there, been heavy work, but a lot of strong partnerships, and just this team and their expertise and the leadership that they've provided. I think Perry will agree. They're just top notch. And the collaborative efforts to make this work happen, I think, is what I'm really most proud of. So thank you.
It's an opportunity for any interaction, questions.
I'll just start by saying thank you. I know it's added work on top of, what you all typically have to do. And we know it's getting done. We know good stuff is happening. It's just helpful to see it tied back to the strategic plan, because when I look at the plan, like the 4 goal areas for future planning, I don't see anything that wouldn't be covered by one of those 4 goal areas, like you were saying, Dr. Bresnahan. So, and then Perry, I know we talked about this at the meeting you were here last time, where what are we going to do next? A refresh, a complete new plan. In my opinion, I don't think it needs to be a complete new plan, but I think within those goal areas, you can come, or within those 4 pillars or whatever we call them, you can come up with new goals within there, or set new targets, new KPIs, and then you can come up with new strategies to hopefully execute on those. And then I like that when you mentioned that, I don't know if it's still happening, but when it was happening, when you would have staff meetings where you would specifically call out what goal or what pillar, like, what you're doing aligned to. And I'll bring this up because I know she's not watching, but my wife, she works in District 54, and every presentation she gives to, even if it's a small group of staff for professional learning or something, it starts with, this is applied to X, Y, or Z goal from the board's strategic plan. So that's just my insight.
I would echo that. It's definitely clear that you guys are doing the work and it's getting done, but now that we have a little more communication, it's even more clear, right? And also having that to share with our community, I think is very important. The website updates and like all of the social media you guys have been doing has been so great. I appreciate Perry coming in too, and I really look forward to what's to come.
Yeah, I just like to echo everything everyone's saying, and thank you for this special presentation. And I hope that the strategic plan will be a part of, periodically our future board meetings. I think it would be really helpful to always tie back to our goals. And I think that opens up the conversation, especially when it comes to improvement. I feel like we often hear, oh, we're working on this. Oh, yeah, we know we need to work on this. I think we really need to talk about what we are doing and the data showing our progress or lack thereof. I think that, introducing this or bringing the strategic plan back to the table, even now, even though we know we have to refresh or do something, but even just now for the remainder of the school year to just tie back to our goals and open up that two-way communication with the board, I really appreciate that. I think we're setting the stage for that.
I do like how the admin team, how they tie the goals in during your meetings. You've got those listed so that way they're front and center and you're constantly revisiting them as opposed to just sitting on a website. So I think that's great. Our communication has been top notch, highlighting all the positive things that are going with the strategic plan and what's going on in our schools. So thank you.
I don't know, everybody's saying something, so I'll probably just add my own experience. No, I appreciate the review. Definitely, like in my company, we even are not allowed to do any project unless it is directly connected to one of these strategic pillars for a given year. So yes, we do need the connection. And I'm just going to add one more thing. Like I'm glad we're even going more into the direction of that visibility, which connects the data, because I know we keep pestering you guys about more data and more reports and things how we can, mold things in a way that makes us understand what's happening. So adding all of those together, I think it's definitely in the right direction. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I do think this sets the stage, like you said at the beginning. You don't really know what to do moving forward unless you review where you're currently at and how things have gone. So thank you again for your work and helping the district put that together. And we'll, this is the last year of the strategic plan. So in the future, we'll discuss what we think we want to do next as we go through like a year of changes here. But we'll definitely keep this front and center. So thank you.
The second part of what I was asked to do was related to future strategic planning, refresh. We have had a conversation about that before. I think I have shared some thoughts or feelings. I have some slides that I could reiterate those. I don't feel I have to do that because we've had the conversation at the last meeting. I'm happy to do that if you'd like me to.
I think no, it's the same that we talked about when you were here last time. And I've shared your updates that you would email it to me. I would share with. So
yeah. My feeling on that, and just to kind of summarize it without going through the slides, I know that from the very first when we began our conversations, it's something. I'm a former superintendent. I can tell you, I always think about how I would feel as things are happening when I'm working with districts. I try to go back to my own personal experiences. And I know that oftentimes a superintendent, life isn't perfect and we don't always have everything ready and the superintendent on board, and unfortunately superintendents come and go. And as they come and go, oftentimes strategic plans come and go with them. And so I know that in my conversation from the very beginning, I just felt that it was critically important to you that in the future, you not do anything with a new superintendent, the thought of a new superintendent coming to get into strategic planning without that person being on board. And with that in mind, knowing also there have been lots of things that have been going on in the district. I sometimes think people think that a strategic plan is in cement. And I always remind them a good strategic plan is in sand, because things change. We can't always control what's going to happen. And as things change, we can't wait 5 years for a new strategic plan to start addressing some of those things. And I feel that's kind of what's been happening here too. We're just at a time in education where things are popping all over the place. And as things pop, we sometimes can't wait for the new plan to take over. And so we always have to realize that new things are going to happen, and we need to incorporate those within the plan that we have. And I think that's something that has happened here too. But again, the transparency of it, how does that tie back into, when we look at COVID as an example, I can name 10 things for you that happened in this district that I'm not sure anyone realized they connected absolutely with goals 1 and 2. Absolutely. We were distributors of food, for one, above and beyond what anyone would have ever expected us to do. That ties in to goal number 2. But if we didn't make that connection, it might seem like we really weren't doing anything in our strategic plan, because when the strategic plan was conceived, we didn't have that need. So we always have to recognize that in any new strategic plan, that it's something that is of the moment, but the moment does change. And if it's going to be fluid, it also has to be flexible. And I feel that there are a number of things, I've outlined them to you before. They are in my slides again today. I won't go through them, but there's plenty of things to do to get ready for the next plan. And those are things you really are going to have this school year that you could get into those kinds of things, because they don't make permanent decisions about the next plan. They just get things ready so that when you are ready for the new plan, that you don't have to spend another year getting ready. But it's been a pleasure. It always is. This is a great district. I work a lot in the Chicago area, and this district has such a remarkable reputation among other districts. And when your peers look to you as high quality and the best, that really, to me, speaks high volumes. So congratulations to you as a board, to Terry, to the team. Thank you.
Thanks, Perry. All right, moving on, we have 5.01 monthly updates.
All right, so first wanted to start with just giving a shout out for our district fall festival. That is an annual event that took place last weekend. Very excited, and the health clinic that went along with it. So such a great opportunity for our community partners. Again, very aligned with goal 2 and goal 3. So really making sure that our kids have a place. It was amazing. Thank you to our board members who were able to make it as well. We had a coat drive this year, which was brand new coats distributed out to families, which was absolutely amazing to see, and see the kids going shopping for their coats. When maybe cold weather will come eventually. So it was a great event. Thank you so much to our community outreach specialist team, to all of the people who really put a lot of work into that. Planning for that starts about 6 months in advance. So I think planning will begin in the next few months for next year's. But thank you again for everybody who participated in that. It was a great event. We are kicking off our Outstanding Staff Awards again. So the team met last week to pick the winners. So they were being notified this week and will be celebrated in our weekly staff memo. And then the last piece that I wanted to share for my portion was this month we've really been focusing on our attendance awareness. And so as Nicole said, we have been doing a lot with social media. Again, thank you to Rachel and her team. They have done an amazing job, and they put together this video that I thought would be great to bring some of our students into the boardroom.
Get the beautiful phones and teach them their two languages. Me and my friends and being a tiger. I went to school and honestly seeing my friends and teachers, I feel like that's just like a comfort area. I love school because I get to meet friends, my teacher, I can meet new foods, and I have many friends. I like to challenge my mind and then notice my friends get to find out something's going on. I love about school because you get most things. You get play with your friends, you get new stuff every day. And school is so fun. You get to connect with friends, meet cool people, and go learn new things. So like a check. I love my teachers. I love learning about cool stuff because like in math we could use like some problems in like real life situations, and in science like it's very fun doing labs. And in 7th grade you get to do the most labs too, so that's pretty fun almost every day. I like doing at school is different activities so I like the experience and how everything is laid out. I like my friends, the teachers are really nice and they're outside. The teachers and the students here at home.
Bringing some brightness and positivity to social media, and our communications team is just knocking it out of the park. And I think while attendance is it is going to be our year-long focus, really we honed in this first month to develop some awareness, but there will be more videos to come, so stay tuned for that. But a great celebration from the team.
Terry, quick note on attendance. I know this might not be popular anymore, but do we give any sort of awards for attendance? Maybe not perfect. We don't want kids to come to school sick, but is there some sort of award for it?
Many of our schools have different incentive programs in place and celebrations for attendance, which is usually collective and teams or grade levels or groups earning them together.
Sure. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Glad to hear it. I think it matters.
Absolutely. And they're really down even into as Dr. Russell talked about in goal 2, it goes down to the intervention level. So really looking at individual students and what are their barriers and what is the root cause of why they may not be coming to school, and being able to really intervene and provide support. So our teams are doing a tremendous job, as well as those fun group collective incentives. I think one of our principals was taped to a wall last year because their attendance hit the mark and was able to win that. I'm not sure how that's a reward, but they all thought it was pretty exciting to see Mr. Gannon taped to a wall. So, all right, moving on to our Associate Superintendent Department, Assessment and Accountability. So fall benchmarking is complete, and it will be shared with the board at our November 12th meeting. As part of that, our MTSS team has met with our iReady representatives, which they do regularly throughout the year after benchmarks, just to review our overall results, as well as really preview our newest assessment, which is the Spanish reading assessment. And so we'll be able to see data in that report in November. And then our school report card data will also be shared in November. Is the confidential preview to the district is open on October 1st, which is tomorrow. And then I believe it goes public October 30th. So we are very excited to see that, because as we have reported out, a lot of new changes to the school report card and accountability measures for looking at our IAR data. In terms of professional learning, we continue our district PLTs. We're on our Wednesday early release time. So we continue to provide professional learning around our devices. And then we're also on October 15th going to have opportunities for our grade levels and content area teams to meet and have some collaboration time. And then October 13th will be our next District Institute Day. And we have 48 sessions offered out to staff. For business services, you're going to hear a lot about the budget later this evening during the action items, but just FYI, we are planning for our Brentwood ribbon cutting and open house. We just finalized plans today, so we're going to make it kind of a little bit more low-key, informal event. It's going to take place so that we could get as many families there as possible during our parent-teacher conferences next week. And so the board, this is your official first invitation. You will get a formal email invitation to follow, as well as our Brentwood families for that event. It'll be next Thursday at 3:30 during the staff dinner break, so that you can come and kind of have a dedication and get to see the amazing renovations and addition at Brentwood. And then transportation, we continue to update through the board weekly, but as Mosen has shared, we are preparing for that bid, and the timeline has been shared, as well as just a discussion with the board on what are some alternative options that the board might want to consider as we prior to entering into a new contract. In curriculum and instruction, we continue our literacy year 3 focus. So this is our final year of literacy implementation. And so really that we are looking at our building leaders and teachers participating in professional learning and planning. Vocabulary is a common goal area across all of our schools, as well as writing, and then looking at evidence of student learning through our professional learning communities, which is another one of our focus areas this year. And then kindergarten and PE teacher teams have been able to have some collaborative planning time as they look at implementation of our kindergarten refresh and some new curriculum pieces for our PE at, I believe, elementary, correct? And then parent-teacher conferences are next week already for most of our schools. So excited to welcome our families into our buildings and to meet with our staff. Human resources, our new educator network continues to provide that professional learning to support our certified staff. So there's different training sessions that happen throughout the year for different specific job groups. So our LBS teachers and those related services, they get some specialized professional learning, as well as our interventionists and our classroom teachers. We are also offering, again this year, our employee wellness screenings, which is all of our employees are eligible, as well as their dependents. So if you haven't gotten your flu shot and you'd like to participate, those will take place on Thursday, October 9th at Bird, Low, Friendship, Grove, and Holmes. And don't make the mistake of getting 3 vaccines in one day like I did, because it will knock you out. All right, moving.
The wellness screen,
Mhm.
the teachers get a blood test for that too? I know there's one that we do in my district where they do comprehensive.
Yes, you have, that is an option if you want to participate in that and then get some feedback. It's part of our insurance plans and wellness initiatives. So it is a great in-house opportunity. It saves you a trip to the doctor. For student services and support, so last week, as you were hopefully aware, we had our safety week, which was a shift this year. So we really concentrated and coordinated all of our safety events to take place in the same week. And then you saw some social media that was out there, and then additional information that went out from our schools and in our district newsletters. So there really was an entire campaign to support a lot of our safety topics. So not only our drills that we were able to successfully run with Crisis Go and with our first responder partners, but also some various topics that you can see. There are safe gun storage, e-bike and e-scooter information, which is very timely and very relevant, as well as participating with our SROs who were able to deliver some safety lessons to our students. Our threat assessment teams are training, and that will be completed on October 6th. And then, as we talked about with our attendance improvement work, we continue to do that from a district-wide perspective, but really looking at our data. Our administrative team got a chance to look at their individual school data so they can really track real-time attendance data to see who are our students. Most of our schools have teams that are focusing in on that as an initiative and really ensuring that we are being supportive and removing barriers from students who can't make it to school. We are also planning our family education nights, which are returning this year, and we are planning one in November as well as one in March, and those will both also have an attendance focus. And then lastly, our professional learning community initiative, we are doing a Train the Trainer in partnership with another school district. So our Train the Trainers will actually be trained on October 16th, and then they will be able to come back and provide training to the rest of our teams, which is a great efficient way to expand our learning opportunities. And last but never least, technology and innovation. On October 1st will be that district professional learning time on innovation, and our innovative coaches under Ben's direction will continue to offer some professional learning. We have our family technology support evening, which will take place on October 23rd at Grove at 6 p.m. And then lastly, we really looked at our old Chromebooks, which at this point have no real monetary value, but they are still functioning. Our schools are using them for a variety of things to support needs within the schools, but we still have additional. And so we're working with our school teams, our community outreach specialists. If there are families that identify that they have a need for an additional device at home, we are providing that to them at no additional cost.
That's fabulous. At my work, we had a refresh and they would not, I don't know if they scrap them, they get money or they get some benefit, but they would not let us buy them or anything.
We are happy to make use of them wherever we can. And, we weeded out the ones that really had no additional life, but those that are, we're happy to put them into good use.
Can I ask about the family technology support evening?
Of course.
More detail. What's that going to be?
Yes.
I'm looking at you, Ben.
Yeah, we're going to focus on talking about the Securely Home filter, so ways that families can support their children at home with the new devices, features of the new device, what it's capable of, taking care of them, and then really that new resources that are available to families that we didn't have prior.
So is this like presentation and bring the device with you so that if you have questions, is that what it is? Like, are you going to do?
That would be a great idea. I will add that to my list of things to do. Yes, I much prefer interactive than just me talking all the time.
Yeah,
So
no,
yes,
I love
it
that
would be
too.
great.
Yeah, if they could bring their device in case they have questions
we'll
or.
add that to our flyers. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Thank you, Ben.
Quick question. If you are a parent who forgets to unpause securely, does that affect during the school day?
No, it's only outside of school hours. Hypothetically speaking, if someone were to do that at any time, yes, that's outside of school.
And
asking for a friend, Nikki.
And Ben, if there's good turnout there, could we try to do something else like in the Mount Prospect Display side of town?
Yeah, absolutely.
As well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Cool. And then going back to the wellness thing. Do those things?
No.
No, not at all.
That would be a lot of additional dollars out the door. No, that is not something that we have. Does our participation impact our insurance at all? Like, do we get any potential discounts or anything as a result of participation?
We would get discounts on the cost of that day, but we have found in the last few years the just right amount of opportunities and locations to where it seems to have found its perfect balance.
Okay. No, I just know it's an incentive that gets a lot of people out that might not get checked. And so just saying.
One question about Safety Week. Did you get any information from teachers that it was too much for especially elementary schools in 1 week?
I will look out to my audience at my principals. I am seeing heads shaking no. Okay. And our director, Malik, did collect feedback and really to see how it all went. And that was not feedback that we had heard.
I heard from a few parents at Fall Fest that it was a bit much. Just for a small sample, that it was too much to have a drill every day. Or I'm not sure if that's what happened, but they just said it was a lot all at once.
Yes. So hopefully any parents listening or parents that approach anybody, please report that to your building principal so they have awareness so we can collect the actual data to see how that goes.
Thank you.
And Director Malik will be following up with buildings and first responders to get feedback from them as well, so we can collect that when they have those meetings.
Okay, thank you so much. We can move on to our consent agenda. We have items 6.01 through 6.05. If I could get a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
So moved.
Second, Lucas?
Second, yes.
Okay. Motion and second. Anybody have any questions? If not, we have a voice vote or roll call vote.
Kitzinger,
Aye.
Notini,
Aye.
Chesney,
Aye.
Bookler,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Eddie, I, Johnson.
Aye. All right, motion passes. For
I don't
action
know if
items,
one
we
by you.
have 7.01, appointment of the superintendent to cause a budget to be prepared for FY 2027. If I could have a motion to approve that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any questions? I think this is just straightforward procedural. Okay, if not, could we have a roll call vote?
Notini, I, Chesney,
Aye.
Bookler,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Eddie, I, Johnson,
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. 7.02 is the preparation of the 2025 tax levy and setting the date for the public hearing, which will be
December.
December 10th, 2025. If I could get a motion to approve.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Any questions? Could we have a vote?
Chesney,
Aye.
Bookler,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Eddie, I, Johnson,
Aye.
Kitzinger,
Aye.
Notini.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. 7.03 is,
Yeah, so there's a few parts, and I'm gonna, before I turn it over to Mohsen to walk us through, you're gonna see it a little bit different tonight than you would in previous years. We're trying to consolidate and get some efficiencies. So Mohsen's gonna be going through any changes to the proposed budget and highlighting, you had the full presentation on the budget and we had the public hearing. We're going to hopefully moving forward be following a little bit tighter of a timeline, which is kind of best practice. So he'll go through and highlight that. If the board has any questions, please feel free to ask, and then we will go to action item to approve the budget.
is the action item just item
The
C?
action item is C,
Okay.
correct.
Thank you. Goal 4. Stewardship of resources. And when I'm talking about goal 4 and I'm talking about finance, I know fully well. We are all here because we want to prepare students to be successful for life. This school district has an exceptional good history of providing wonderful services to kids. And the budget always is one of those things which talk about, okay, but how about money? So I want to make sure we support all our services, but we also look for opportunities to make it much more financially sustainable. We are very fortunate in our school district to have a relatively healthy fund balance. Fund balance provides us the stability in case if you don't have revenues coming from our property taxes. And this is an exact case in point right now. Normally, we get communication from Cook County in June as in terms of the levy extension, and the tax bills go out August, July, and collected in August, and we still haven't heard anything. All our communications from Cook County is, don't ask, we don't know. But fortunately, unlike many school districts, we are not panicking till there's a right time, because currently the only option available to school district is if they don't have money to meet their financial obligation, they need to sell tax anticipated warrant. That doesn't look good for any school district selling tax anticipated warrant. So I'm very happy that we have fund balance, but we have also invested that fund balance for the long run. And none of us want to liquidate investment and lose portion of the interest income. So we are monitoring that very carefully. And anything, if we have to do anything, we'll let the board know about it.
So can I ask for it? So if you're saying if our fund balance was, if we were a district and our fund balance was 5%, we'd be in trouble now because we're not getting.
Even if you were 40%, we would have challenges. Let's put it this way.
Mohsen, do you have any thoughts on what's driving that delay?
Supposedly computer issues.
Maybe we should donate some of our computers to them.
So I have attended 2 meetings, and everybody is being very politically careful because there are multiple departments. The county clerk's office is what we deal with. There is the treasurer's office. So everybody's being very careful not to give information, but we have inside people we as friendly, and they've told us don't expect money coming in November either. So, and this happened like several years ago, just after COVID, and the big push and the media got involved when you could deduct your taxes. And there was a big push that you have to get the bills out by December 1st because people need to be able to write off their taxes. So worst possible, I'm hoping December, but there is no certainty in their area. So the reason I say is thank you, board, for having that balance of 78.65%. And you'll see a number, operating fund balance, 109 million, I'm sorry, which is 78.65, and that's in ratio to our expenditure. So next slide. Before I get into the presentation, I'm only going to highlight things which are different. So the very first thing different, and that's accountability from the public hearing. Anytime you have a public hearing and you don't have an adoption, that period is a very sensitive period because you don't want to make any switches unless you are sharing the switches before the adoption. So fortunately, all our switches are positive, which means is we are adding more revenues to the budget and not changing the expenditures. The revenue is because we have more accurate information on the real estate tax numbers. And it's still a estimate, by the way. Normally, when you do this, by this time, we know the numbers also, the tax extension. So it's still an estimate, but we have improved that by approximately $1 million on the tax revenues. We've also added 700,000 on the transportation claim because we submitted our claim on August 15, so we have a much more current information. And the old estimate was based on prior year's expenditure, and our expenditure have significantly got up in transportation. So there is a small component in reimbursement which goes up too. So those are the only 2 items which have caused the change in the revenue, and all positive. Instead of having a balanced budget of approximately 400,000, now it's approximately $2.1 million. Now that's cause of celebration. At the same time, that should be an expectation. At a bigger margin would be even better, and I'll share why later on.
Can I just ask real quick, that's obviously taking into account the updated satellite costs with the new bargaining agreements and everything?
I didn't hear.
Sorry, that takes into account the new bargaining agreements and the increases there and all that, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
And I'll share with you as to what numbers I've used. So,
okay.
And by the way, I give all credit to Janet Russo, who was really focused on the expenditure side while I was focusing on the revenue side. And she's really done an incredible job. So, when you see a breakdown, this is a new slide, so I'm going to talk about that for a minute. But when you see a slide, you know we are very, very dependent on the local property tax. 79% of our revenue comes from our local property tax, which really gives us a lot of freedom in terms of doing things which we were just talking about earlier in terms of our strategic plan. But we are also extremely fortunate that most of our taxes are paid by people who don't use our service. And close to about 60% of our taxes come from commercial and industrial properties. That's a compliment to the town planners, the many communities we serve. We want to keep that ratio as much as we can. And the commercial and industrial pay the taxes same way as we do, but they don't use the services. Even on the residential side, that's why we have the communication department, and we want to make sure we take care of all our taxpayers. Close to a typical school district and suburb. I'm not talking about like a fast growth school district with like Plainfield where there are a lot of young families. Only about 10 to 15% of the people homeowners have children in the school system. So thanks to all those people too. So I just wanted to make sure I put this as part of our budget, who pays our taxes. So we're very fortunate and lucky. The end result is our taxes become low because there are more payers and fewer users. Next slide. This you have seen, so I won't spend too much time, but the big challenge for us is a significant decline in corporate personal replacement tax going from 23 at 15.3 to 9.2, 6.2, now 6.8. So this is we increased as part of our changes in our revenue. But the numbers we got will never come back again. There were two reasons for it. First, there was a big error at the state level in Department of Revenue. And some of the things which they're doing, there was a clawback period. So we were expecting another clawback period. So our number was close to about 5.8. Now it's 6.8 because the preliminary number from Department of Revenue gave us a numbers to use of 6.8. I'm still using an estimate number because we're not 100% sure. We are one of those few school districts with zero school fees, and that's because of our tax base. And we are expecting our interest earning to stay stable. Now, having said that, not having revenues in September, October, November, and December will have an impact. But we also have made some changes and reduced our expenditures, although those expenditures are in the budget. And we'll talk about that at one of the finance committee meetings as to what we're doing. This you have seen the slide, so I'll skip the time for the time being. This one I wanted to make sure, this is one of the key slides for financial planning. People may accuse me for being very conservative, but I usually find that to be a very comfortable spot for financial planning, because if you're wrong, at least you have a fund balance, but if you are accurate, you're not misleading. So our numbers, if you look at our revenue growth, that's the only dynamic revenue growth for the school district. On the very long term, since the inception of the tax cap, it's been 2.4%. That's the CPI. Last few years it's changed, so I've given a different period. And this year, when you approve the levy, it's going to be at the rate of 2.9%. Now, 2.9% would be the revenue growth at 79%, not at 100%. The state and federal right now, we are assuming flat. I know last year evidence-based funding went up by $6,700 for our size school district. That's not a big number to be discussing. Another dynamic revenue for us is whenever there's new property or a new development or a new factory, they pay taxes. So that's an additional resource. And later on, the next slide, I've added one of those things as to what the new property is. So I went back and created the numbers from 2010. We can go back many more years. But if you look at it, there were some very good years we were growing. Now we are not growing. Last year, our new construction was at close to 0.5%. So if you look at next year, and even if we were to use 0.5 or 0.55 and 2.9, the revenue is going to be like 3 point something, but then you multiply that times 0.79 because that's the local property tax. So it's going to be close to about 2% revenue, 2.6 or 2.7% revenue growth. And this is just, the right side is illustrating it. So this is a new slide. You've seen this thing, so I'm going to skip that. You've seen this, I'm going to skip that. Now, people who are here for the first time, I put this presentation here. That's why I'd like to see the public hearing and all that. You've seen this slide. I'll skip that slide. You've seen this, but I'm going to briefly let you know that most of our resources are in salaries and benefit. And we love our teachers, so it's not complaining about anybody's salaries and benefit, including administrators. It's just that when we add staff or subtract staff, it can have a financial impact on the school district. The funding for schools under the tax cap does not take into consideration the need of our students. That's the challenge, unless you can go and ask for more money from the taxpayers. So the challenge becomes is the needs are there. And one way is to grow the revenue by asking for more or being much more aggressive in cost management. And as CSBO, we always look for ways to be more cost effective and try to look for resources. And we are doing that right now, collectively, collaboratively, without doing it on our own. We want to do it as team, work with our union, we work with our teachers, we work with our administrators and make sure we do it without disrupting too much. So next slide. And you've seen this also. If you can hold that for a minute, like our biggest challenge is benefits. Although our funding is linked to CPI, I'm one of those first people will tell you that as the financial person, I never expect that we will go to our teachers and say, because our funding is at CPI, that's the only thing we'll give you. That's not practical because in reality, but that's our funding. So we have to be aggressive in terms of how we manage our resources. That PPO rate of 13.9 is unacceptable, but that's a reality. We have to deal with it. We'll be spending time with the insurance committee, partnering with everyone in the school district to make sure we free up resources for the next negotiation, because we want to be able to attract good teachers. Staff members, I don't want to focus, just say teachers, but I've learned a long time ago, if you work for a school district, either you're a teacher or you're serving the teachers who serve the students. So when I say that instructional assistant is a teacher, we in the office are also teachers in a way because we're supporting them. So we want to be able, anytime there's a cost increase of more than 2.4%, that should get our attention. Next slide. Fortunately, food service rates, when you renew a contract, are linked to food service CPI, which happens to be the same CPI. So that's our food service has gone up, but a lot of our expenses like utilities and all that in the purchase services are going to be higher than CPI. Next slide. The IMRF Social Security rate is based on Social Security is a national rate, so you can't change that. It's not going up. It's just the rate on a percent of salary. And same thing, that 9.37, it's a percent of classified staff salary. Now, that 9.37, from my experience, is high, and that's based on our experience. So we'll be dealing with those issues later on. This is one area where I think we need to address, because later on you'll see if we continue and if we don't address some of those increases, it will have a serious challenge. And this is not just the only one area, but we'll have to tackle that. It's not the unit price which is going up. The unit price for transportation contract is going up by 2%. We would like to look at the number of riders, the number of buses being used, and look at the long-term sustainability. How do we go about addressing this thing? And that's going to be a much more deeper discussion, so I don't want to talk about it right now. I compliment the board one more time, because I've come across many school districts which will do a shortcut by kicking the can and not keeping the building up to date, which has a long-term consequence, because then you're just deferring the expenditure. You're going to spend the money and not get the benefit of up-to-date equipment. So good job over here. this is for me. I wanted to make sure this is a slide I really would like to focus on. And normally I would give a presentation of the budget. And by the way, this is the absolute last day to get the budget approved. Uh, 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 so it were in a perfect world, and that's where we want to be. It's not very, it's very challenging in an education setup that your revenue should always be as much or more than your expenditure. So you heard me when I talked about alignment of revenue growth. So our CPI over a period of long term has been 2.4, and it's 2.9, so that's good number. Our new construction is 0.55, but I'm using one, so I'm bumping that. I was bumping the other one down because I'm using the last year new construction as more relevant. Okay, so what I'm saying is, if I were to look at revenue growth basis for our dynamic resource, is 3.4. However, that's only 79%, and that's the only revenue which is growing, which means it's about 2.67, less than 3. The state and federal, we are assuming, are not going to be declining. But right now, the news out there is not very positive. But right now, assuming even if that's not declining, and if our revenue is less than 3%, where are we in terms of our expenditure? If you look at the right-hand side, I did a weighted average based on how we spend the money and what the expected cost increase is. And the weighted average is close to about 5.2. The imbalance, and if you were to have the same weighted average and everything was at 3, it would still be 3. So I just proved the mathematical formula down, and look at what happens to the next, if you look at the next slide. Now, what I did was take our operating revenues, and this is a very simplified way of illustrating the importance of having a balanced budget. Looked at our operating revenue, which is currently, which you are going to be approving, of 141 million, and expenditure with a positive delta of $2 million. And if everything was in balance, it would not be a challenge for us. Okay. And that's why it's very important to have balanced budget. But if you look at a delta of 1.5 on the right-hand side, things change very rapidly if you look at the right-hand column. So my limited time here, not only I want to manage the operation, but I also want to be able to influence what goes in the future. And it's going to be a collaborative effort and would require a lot of, it's going to be challenging, but it needs to get done. We fortunately have the fund balance, so we have the time where it's not going to be a panic situation, but we are already starting some of those processes internally. So if you look at the right-hand side, so there's a delta of 1.5, there's a delta of 2 on the bottom left. And the bottom right is what could be our delta right now with 2.67% revenue growth. Now, we are not saying this is going to be the picture for forever going forward, but having a balanced budget becomes very challenging. So that's why you need a surplus of $8-9 million so you can go back. And in the old days, we were very fortunate when there was a turnover and retirement, there was an opportunity to replace at a lower cost. Now we are in a very different economy. But we know that we have to deal with that challenge, and we'll have to step up and address it, because we can't do all of those things defined in our strategic plan if we have an unstable finances.
Mohsen, can I ask if there's room for expense management outside of the things that are kind of out of our control, the transportation, insurance?
From my perspective, when you look at a typical school system, and I'm using the word typical because I am relatively new, so I don't have the sense of history. But when we talk about adding staff in the last few years, we didn't grow the revenue. And we did it just to make sure we are supporting all our kids. So that's not a bad thing to do. It's just that how do we go forward, do it? So we'll have to be very strategic in terms of how we do it. Aligning our class sizes, are we at the right class sizes? And many times when you have the number of buildings we have for 5,600 students, do we need so it's a big discussion. It's not like a 1-year discussion, but it needs to get started because we need to make sure we still support our kids, we provide them with all the services and do it more efficiently. And I'm not saying that we are not doing it inefficiently. All we're saying is I'm just bringing this up because this is going to be a challenge going forward. And this has no reflection on anybody like Ron, who did a fabulous job and is a good friend of mine. It's just that I want to make sure that we can't continue adding the expenditure side without adding revenue side to it.
I think that's why we kind of put the long range facilities planning on hold until the next superintendent's here and we go through like the strategic planning, and because it's not just obviously there's a cost to the facilities, but also how do we get more efficient in how we staff those facilities or where the programs are at within those facilities, because that can turn the red to black real quick down the line. Can I ask separately? Sorry, did you want to say something about this first before you?
Oh, I just wanted to thank Mohsen for putting this together in this format, because I think, and to Ron's credit, his parting words to the board were, be mindful, and the staffing is unsustainable. It's not the only area, and Mohsen, who's been here just a few short months, I think hit on class sizes, our number of facilities, our number of staff. Those are three significant factors that when you go into, expenditure analysis, like that's where the big dollars can be seen. So I think it's just really good and timely to see it in this visualization so we can see the reality of it. And I think the team does a really good job of bringing that financial component when we bring forth our resource allocation. But the board's function is going to eventually hit a place where you're going to have to make some difficult decisions because finances are not always going to be there. And we want that healthy fund balance because we are dependent on a lot of outside factors. And so that's part of the protection that you provide to the community by maintaining that fund balance. So just wanted to say thank you for this visualization coupled with, the years of conversations. I think it's a good point as we head into the strategic planning.
Yes, these are this one and the one previously. How you came up with these numbers is I like seeing that. Can I ask? This might wait for levy time, but what if expenses are increasing by X percentage? How did you come up with the levy amount you're suggesting?
So I took into consideration the 2.9% levy, and it's going to be 2.9, and the new construction is 0.55. So those numbers are really not that much different than the 2.4 and 1%, 3.4. So my expectation is it would be a good, we always ask for more because we don't know what the new construction is. And fortunately in Cook County only, and this is not like giving you more money, they just add 3% to your request, but they don't give you 3% more. Most people think they give you 3% more. It's just that if you mess up your estimate, you'll still get everything you are entitled to. Now, that 3% margin should not be an issue, but somebody in my position always has to look at if there's a very big TIF which is scheduled to expire. So that would be one of the things I'll be studying to see if there is. But one thing I'm really impressed is the town planners in the past as well as current, all the communities being served. They've really done a good job of having good planning in terms of the industrial base. So I don't expect surprise TIFs or anything like that. But that still requires me to search and find out. I think the rest of the stuff you have seen, this says the budget in cannot be looked at isolation. So we went back, we looked at the audited numbers from 22, 23. 24, and 25 is still a projected number because it's not been audited. Usually, there is a positive slight outcome in terms of improvement of fund balance, usually because you don't spend everything you do, but this is a projected number, not an actual adopted budget number. And then the adopted budget, normally I would do a projections from this one, but I wanted a more simplified version because I think I wanted to illustrate the importance of having a balanced budget going forward. I think that really covers my budget presentation. And next year, we'll try not to put you through two presentations for the.
This was very helpful. Thank you. Any questions?
Wilson, can I ask if the annual audit is going on now, or is it done?
It's on schedule. In the last few years, the audits have been very late. This year, we've been assured it's coming. And I know because we talked about interviews and Janet said, "Oh, I'm going to be spending time with the auditors." So
I hope you have a returning team. Is it the same people, same manager, same staff? Who's the firm?
Baker Tilly.
Baker Tilly. Okay.
They have a very good reputation.
Yeah, absolutely. They do a lot of those.
All right. Any other questions? If not, we will need a motion to adopt.
I'll motion.
Sorry. Yeah. Motion to adopt the budget for fiscal year 26. Motion by.
I'll second Michelle motion.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? If not, we do a roll call vote.
Bookler,
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Eddie, I. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. That was the only thing that we had to vote on for that one?
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. Yes. Thank you.
All right. So then we have 7.04. A donation from the Education Foundation to Holmes Junior High. Sarah, do you want to read this?
Sure. Be it resolved that on the 30th day of September 2025, the Community Consolidated School District 59 Board of Education approves the donation from the District 59 Education Foundation to Holmes Junior High in the amount of $500 for their Boo Bash. Be it further resolved that the superintendent shall communicate to the District 59 Education Foundation in writing expressing the appreciation of the members of the Board of Education and that this donation shall be listed in the official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
All right.
I was just going to say, it's going to be a great event. It's Holmes and its foundations, elementary schools, and we've already seen like the flyers for it. It just looks amazing. So hopefully people can attend.
Yes. And hopefully we can, if anyone is assigned to any of these feeder schools or homes, hopefully we can maybe give out candy at the event. That would be a good visibility opportunity.
All right, great. Can we have a roll call vote?
Zach.
Aye.
Eddie, I. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
And Bookler.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. And then lastly, we just need a motion to approve the press updates from Press Update 119.
I'll make the motion.
Hold on. Okay.
All right, can we get a
Yes, now we
second?
can go.
Nicole motion,
I'll second.
Sarah second, thank you. Vote, roll call vote.
Eddie, I. Johnson.
Aye.
Kitzinger.
Aye.
Notini.
Aye.
Chesney.
Aye.
Bookler.
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. The only discussion item we have is the 26, 27 calendars and holidays.
Good evening. This presentation does not directly connect to one of the 4 strategic goals. However, this is one of those very important operational tasks that allows us to live that out every day. So I will start by sharing that the calendar for, this is the earliest that we've presented, which is really exciting. It's actually September still. Normally will be moved to October, November. But the board will be acting on this in November, and then we will communicate it out to the community. I had to continue to get my head around some of the spring dates are 2027. So we're not even into 2026 yet. But the calendar pretty much stays the same. It's the exact same structure, but sometimes holidays fall on different places. So I just want to walk you through a little bit of the requirements, the approval process, what the holidays will be that you'll be approving, and then the calendar highlights. Here are the requirements from the state. 176 student attendance days. You can have up to 4 institute days, which we have. You have to build in 5 emergency days into the calendar in case we had to close school district-wide and couldn't go remote. The certified bargaining agreement also has certain requirements, and now the ESP calendar does as well. In the past, they would only align to when students were here plus a few extra days. Now they have a set amount too, which is really terrific. So the process, typically we wait for 214 to put their calendar out. They put it out pretty early. We received that. We like to stay aligned with 214 because we share families and of course neighboring districts. We're presenting the draft tonight. We make sure that all the CBA languages supported, and then you can see now it will be October discussion, November action, and then we will share it out with the community as soon as possible. We'll put that on the website. We'll make sure it's translated as we do every year. There's also a calendar action at the end of the year, and that's the board acting on the official last day. That's typically in April when you're away from all of the scary winter months. The holidays for 26, 27 are the same as last year in terms of the list. They fall on slightly different days. And we will be looking at 3 calendars tonight: the traditional, the balanced, and the early learning program calendar. For the traditional calendar, it has the 176 required student attendance days. It aligns with 214 and the neighboring districts for holidays, breaks. We even align an institute because we work with 214. The first day will be on August 13th, which is a Thursday. That's for grades 1st through 8. And then kindergartners start the next day, which is a Friday on the 14th. The last day of school is May 27th. That is a Thursday. Some additional information. There are always 2 start of year days, which is August 10th and 11th. It's usually the first Monday and Wednesday. And that Tuesday in between, August 11th, is our first of 4 institute days. That's why there's typically 3 staff days, and then students start K-1-8 on Thursday, and K joins the year on Friday. You can see October 12th, we have an institute day. That's aligned with 214. January 5th, we have one, which immediately follows break. And March 17th is the last of the 4. We have a non-attendance day on September 21st for Yom Kippur, and on November 3rd. That is not a holiday. Sometimes that is a state holiday. That is not a holiday. But as we have done in the past, that's either a holiday or we do a non-attendance day. We're a polling site. That's midterms. That seems to work out really well. Most districts are doing that. And an important note, we have 2 typical non-attendance days, that last bullet, that fall outside of the calendar. They're either falling on a break or on a weekend. So that's a good example of each year it's a little different in terms of where the first day or the last day might fall. The balanced is everything we just shared with the exception of the start dates. The start date will be July 22nd, which is a Tuesday. Wednesday. Let me put my, there it is right there. See the green? Wednesday for grades 1 through 5, and July 23rd will be when kindergarten starts. Typically, this is a Thursday, Friday, like the traditional, but the way the calendar fell, Ridge would have had 1 additional day at the end of the year. Their last day of school would have been 1 extra day to hit 176. So to prevent that, they will start a day earlier. And you can see they join our whole district staff on August 11th for that first institute day. And that's one of the reasons that sometimes that doesn't align right out of the gate. But pretty much after that, we're good with the exception of those 3 weeks that the balanced calendar starts before everyone else. Then there's a 2-week fall break, and then there's 1 additional week for spring break, and you can see those there. The early childhood calendar, this is not the This hasn't changed either, but it's really just a reminder that it's evolved over the last few years. And this does include everywhere we have early learning programming. So it would be the classrooms at Ridge. But they have students in session on Wednesday. You might recall that was an improvement that we made. We have Wednesday sessions, so the staff does not receive PLT time. What we do is we add all those up and we give them additional days. And the student requirement is not the same as grades K through 8, so it works nicely. So this year there are 166 student days. August 14th will be their first day. And then, like I shared, those PLTs add up to about 8 additional professional development days. Some are their own institute, some are programming days, home visits, things like that. And that's pretty much it. We do have, I will show you the links in the upper right, can take you to a more detailed draft calendar. This is done in partnership with the DEA. And most importantly, it is the same structure as in the past, which has been working out really well the last few years. We hope to bring it to the board in November for action. Any questions?
So to directly answer Deb's question from earlier, is that last day still a Monday or is it?
No, it is not a Monday. It's a Thursday, but that isn't connected to the start date. It would have been a Thursday or a Friday. It really is mostly when holidays.
So the fact that we have those 2 holidays fall.
That is part of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So that was the discussion, right? It said October, but September. Yeah.
This is our technically
Got it.
our October.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Because we would have
Even
had
though
it
it's still
tomorrow.
September.
All right, so we can move on to the reports of our board committees, or if you have anything else you'd like to update everybody on. So 9.01, behavior intervention. Seti?
All right. Well, we kind of talked about how Safety Week went. So there's that. PTO, John Jay had a PTO meeting. They also had their Title I meeting. And this past weekend, they had their movie night, which was really a nice turnout. It was outside, Lilo and Stitch. It was a lot of fun. Holmes has, as we talked about, their Boo Bash. They will have trick-or-treating, photo ops, games, arts and crafts. That will be October 18th from 9 to 12. Bird PTO has their trunk or treat on October 23rd. More news to come. And then I don't have anything from Friendship or Juliolo yet, but we'll get there.
Are those your adopted schools?
So these 3 are, but I was at part of those and I don't know if anybody adopted Jay yet. So not sure. We'll see.
Thank you. So I have the next handful. The only update I have for mine is the ISB. We are not using the October 22nd spot for Committee of the Whole. We will, if you can attend the ISB. If you haven't yet, email Maribel and she can sign you up.
Can I just say, because I looked up the deadline for registration is October 7th. So if you'll let Maribel know, and the speaker, Doug Bolton, is fantastic. We've had him here in our district. So since you have the night free, hopefully you can join. It should be a wonderful event.
Thank you. All right. So that would bring us down to Ms. Zach. We have curriculum, assessment, wellness, Education Foundation.
Sure. I have an update on the Education Foundation. They met on the 16th, discussed their budget in detail. They briefly covered their scholarships that will be upcoming and the coming grant timeline, which starts very shortly. It starts in October. So as always, thank you, D59 Foundation. We also had a few board members at the Fall Festival. I saw Michelle. I heard that Ryan was there. I don't know if anyone else was there, but it was a wonderful opportunity for our students. Thank you to the district for offering the free flu shots and partnering with people who could do those, and COVID vaccines, some physicals to students who were in need of them. That is huge for our family. So thank you for that. Thank you to our staff who gave up their Saturdays to volunteer. Our community outreach specialists were there giving out beautiful winter coats to any kids who needed them, and they were beautiful. They were very new. They were not used. So kids are walking around with beautiful coats this winter. Thank you to our community partners. I saw one of our SROs. I saw Kenneth Young Center, who did an awesome activity with painting pumpkins, which my kids loved. And it's just another great example of our community coming together and our district coming together in service of our families and our kids. So thank you to everyone who was a part of the Fall Festival and planning it and attending it. It was wonderful.
Thank you. All right, NSSEO, Mr. Chesney.
Very small update. We've just met to discuss the NSO changes to the Articles of Agreement. Aside from that, no other updates.
Thank you. We have Finance, Facilities, and Communications, Ms. Notini.
Sure. So it looks like we're trying to plan either a finance meeting or a committee of the whole to discuss the transportation issues and some possibilities of us, getting involved in purchasing some of those services directly. So that's to be determined when that date will be. In regards to just communications, we're continuing with the board initiatives. Adopt a School is being rolled out. I think our list is complete. Sarah, is it correct? I think Adopt a School is complete. I have made my connections with Salt Creek. I still have to make my connections with Frost and Friendship, which are my other schools, and would also like to, just maybe have a further discussion of other community events that we can attend. That's one of our initiatives, is to attend community events and district events. So, hoping, Terry, should I connect with Rachel on that, or the two of you, to talk a little bit more about community events that we can participate in?
Sure. I mean, you're happy, go ahead and connect with me, and then because sometimes it might be Rachel, but it might be our community outreach team or things like that. So
sure. And also district events. I know we were very late to the game for the Fall Fest. So if there's other events, if we can plan now for the board to, have a presence, even though we will be present anyway, but just a way for parents in the community to visit with us. And what I've attended the Fall Fest, and I also attended the Oktoberfest in Mount Prospect at the invitation of NSSEO. They invited us to come and help. They opened the Oktoberfest 1 hour early for NSSEO students so that they can participate in the activities without all of the crowds around. So I did kind of show up and just, I didn't really help, but I just kind of joined the team that was already there. So that was a good deal.
Thank you. And then your names aren't on here anyway, so anywhere. So if you see my name next to one of these committees and you would like to take one, just let me know. But we can start with Nicole.
I don't have a whole lot, but I was invited to Brentwood's Fun Run. Unfortunately, I had to take my brother to the airport, so I could not attend, but I saw the pictures online and it looked amazing. Super fun run. So I'll be reaching out more to Brentwood and also to Holmes Junior High, and hopefully getting to hang out over there and check out maybe an FTO meeting or PTO meeting or whatever they have over there. So looking forward to getting to know those schools. Other than that, nothing really.
All right. Last but not least, Ryan.
Sure.
Oh, this is the last thing, and we are on pace to get out of here by 9 o'clock. So
Okay. I'll keep it brief.
I don't want to cut your time short. We're just
No pressure.
No, none at all. So I'm going to echo what Sarah said in regards to the Fall Festival on September 20th. Thank you to our staff for putting that together, putting all the booths together, all the schools, the teachers, administrators that came out. So that was a great event. Saw a lot of kids. So just wonderful thing. I hope it continues in the future. Thank you to Sarah and Michelle for the Adopt a School initiative. I've been in contact with Ms. Stone over at Devonshire, and they've got a lot of cool events going on. I'm glad that, when Ross was talking about the calendar, I know years ago we used to get Veterans Day off, and I'm glad that the kids are in school for Veterans Day. There's a lot of really cool programs. I know Ms. Stone said they're going to have Veterans Day Assembly on November 11th. They'll have a large attendance of veterans from honor flight. They've got a veterans drive between 8 and 9, and then the assembly at 9, followed by a question and answer in the classrooms. And I've been to many Veterans Day assemblies myself as a teacher, and it is just so cool when those veterans are there and the kids can introduce their veterans, and occasionally we'll have a World War II veteran there. So it's really cool. Great way to celebrate. So thank you. That's it.
All right, if that is it, I just need a motion to adjourn. Somebody?
I'll make the motion.
Motioned. I'll second.
We wanted to
All
stay
right,
longer.
this one we can do all in favor?
Say no.
Aye. Opposed? All right, meeting's adjourned.